UFC Vegas 108. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn the post notifications on, and make sure you share the video too. And also note I'll be live for the entire card Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time start. We're back at the UFC Apex, and let's get into fight number one. The ladies are going after it. It's Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlen Souza. They're stressing me out off rip with a prediction that I got to make here. I've sat on this one for a while, all day. I'm going to go with Ketlen Souza. She was my initial early lean when I saw this card, and then looking into it, try to convince myself of Piera Rodriguez. I'm like, well, she could take her down. And Piera does have decent wrestling slash trips, but like she's not that good of a grappler. It's not like Piera Rodriguez has unreal control time or like dangerous submission threats. Like she'll get people down, but she does then, find herself with opponents getting back up to the feet and then on the takedown attempt again, mixing up the striking a little bit. Piera's nasty on the feet. I mean, she rips heavy punches, but she's definitely not as good at striking as Ketlen Souza. When I look at the boxing styles, I see Souza with some smooth hands. She rips her punch combinations together pretty nice. I mean, the shot that she landed against Harigi and then dropped her and then subbed her up was a badass club and sub. Last time out, Ketlen Souza in a real back and forth fight with Angela Hill, who's been a gatekeeper in the top 15 forever. And I think Ketlen Souza's striking is a difference maker here. Better with boxing, and even if she's taken down, which she could be, I don't see Piera Rodriguez just beating the shit out of her from top position and just holding her on the ground for, an entire round. I think that Ketlen Souza has shown an improved get-up game. I think her takedown defense has definitely gotten better. I would consider Ketlen Souza to be like a sprawl and brawl type fighter. She wants to stop the takedown and strike. And Piera Rodriguez, yeah, she's got the takedown, no submission threat. So I'm not really worried about Ketlen Souza getting caught in anything on the ground. Souza's jiu-jitsu's okay, and her get-up game seems to be pretty good. Takedown defense getting better. I mean, started off as maybe a weakness, and then she's slowly but surely starting to find her rhythm. I think she could land bigger shots on Piera Rodriguez. At the end of the day, this is going to be a fight that probably goes down to the wire. I think it's a 1-1 winner around number 3 wins the fight type of matchup. I can see Piera Rodriguez maybe stealing the first round with some takedowns. Souza then starting to find their rhythm, stopping takedowns in round 2. And then I could see her landing bigger shots and maybe backing Piera up a bit. It's really going to be about Ketlen Souza not giving up space so much, because what Pierre is going to do is look to take up the real estate, right? If she can keep Ketlen Souza on the back foot, right, and she could force her against the cage and rip her with some punches in the clinch, I don't know, channel a little Rainier the Ritter in the clinch, hold Ketlen Souza there. Even if she can't hit the trip, if she can just garner that control time, that'd be a factor. But then I think about the striking from mid-range. I favor Souza. I think she's faster. She's more explosive. Piera Rodriguez definitely is going to be an annoying style for Souza to deal with. But I feel like Ketlen can go out and win this in a close fashion. I think she'll get a competitive decision. I'll go Souza to win 29-28. I think she could land some bigger punches and end up getting it done on the cards. But like really, I could see it going either way. At opening odds, I don't even understand. How do you have a minus 300 line at open for Piera Rodriguez? That doesn't make sense to me. Like I think Piera Rodriguez has some takedowns, but it's not like she's the bulldozer from top position. Ketlen Souza on the other side, plus 162 underdog, an underdog with a good striking style, an underdog with hand speed. She's only 29 coming into her own. Both these girls are the same height. And you look last time, I mean, she was at, near even money at close with Angela Hill, who's been on the roster fighting top level girls forever. Now, bit of a, dog here against Piera Rodriguez. I just don't know. I think Souza's striking is fast. I think she's going to have a clear-cut speed advantage. Though Piera Rodriguez also has some striking, I think it's sloppier. And I do think that it's more reliant on the takedown. With Ketlen Souza, like, I'm under the assumption that her takedown defense is going to just consistently get better and her get-up game is going to consistently get better. 3 years younger than Piera Rodriguez, and then you give her the advantage in striking. You give her the fight experience edge. I feel like Ketlen Souza can take this one home in a competitive fight. Pierre Rodriguez also, like, you got to worry about her getting you a DQ. She decides to headbutt Cornolle in a fight she was doing well, and I don't understand that at all. Interesting. Souza lost to Carnelossi on the regional scene years ago. I don't think it's relevant to this fight. Just a random note. Pierre coming off that win, though, against Knudsen, who was a decent prospect, and then they let her go right after Pierre Rodriguez got a decision win over her, just staying after it. I'll say Ketlen Souza can get it done, but definitely, worrisome women's pick. It's women's MMA. It's a wild ride. Hey, I had Tabitha Ritchie as an underdog last week. She hit. I'll go Ketlen Souza, Brazilian underdog for the W. I have to do it. We're going Souza to get it done over Pierre Rodriguez in a close ass fight. Next fight on the card, we got Brazilians going after it again in the flyweight division. Felipe Bunes versus Rafael Estevam. I'm going to pick Rafael Estevam, but I have some negative words to say about him first. Shitty gas tank. Tends to lose the third round. Lost the third round to Aguilar. Lost the third round to Charles Johnson. Does have good control from top position. Does have good takedowns. Does have a strong jiu-jitsu base. And I'd say he's got the advantage over Felipe Bunes as far as like wrestling and top pressure goes. Bunes has a legit jiu-jitsu black belt, though. I think he's like a second-degree black belt or something like that. And he trains with the Pitbull Brothers team. Bunes is interesting. He's a bit unorthodox on the feet. He's got a bit of sting in his punches, but it's not really the bread and butter of his game. Like, he's a hard guy to judge, right? Because you have Joshua Van, who's fighting for the title, and he went out there and, ended up getting outdogged and, bullied a bit by Joshua Van, but it's Joshua Van, and it was a year and a half ago. And then 6 months ago, he pulls off the quick sub over Jose Johnson, but Jose Johnson's grappling is not all that. He's kind of known for being vulnerable to subs. I mean, he got caught by Damon Blackshear in a twister. So the level of submission defense isn't great. I think Estevam is a lot better on the ground than somebody like a Jose Johnson. And I think about Estevam winning the positional battle. I see him getting takedowns. I see him controlling Bunes. I could see him on top for a lot of the rounds. And then in the striking, I don't think Estevam is really getting tuned up by Felipe either, man. So like Bunes is going to need a submission from bottom position, but I think Estevam's going to have pretty good positional awareness. And I think he's going to be able to stop a potential, submission threat, maybe a triangle or an armbar attempt from Bunes. I just don't see him locking that up against Estevam. Where Bunes could win the fight, and I guess this could be like a D-gen bet, is maybe like Bunes' third round. Maybe like Estevam's gassed out in round number 3, and then Bunes takes his back and chokes him out. So I don't know. Bunes to win in the third round, if you're just looking for like a D-gen bet, and the odds are stupid for this fight in general, then maybe, that's something you could look at as like a Mystic Mac call, because Bunes will be live to submit Estevam later if he's able to keep his gas up. But I'm not so sure Bunes' gas tank is going to look that great in round 3 either. And I think Estevam's probably going to wear him down. You got to favor the younger guy, Estevam, nearly 29, Bunes 35. I think Estevam's top control wins him the fight. I think he's a little bit better. And it's also hard to pick, against an undefeated guy, against a 14-7 fighter. So I'm going to go with Estevam. I say he gets it done. And he beat Charles Johnson. He won the first 2 rounds. That's a really big win to have. He's a decent prospect, but I'm like very underwhelmed by Estevam because of how bad he looks in round number 3. First 2 rounds are pretty good for him, but that third round can fall apart, and that can cost you a fight against a grizzled vet like Felipe Bunes, who's a pretty quality journeyman. Looking at the odds of the fight, like I said, I think they're a little bit stupid here. Minus 460, and at open it was minus 500 for Estevam. Bunes plus 360, and then you also got to bring in the factor of it all. Estevam coming in on short notice. He took this fight 2 weeks ago. And he's got, a questionable gas tank as is. Then he takes it 2 weeks ago. It's just, it's not like Bunes is getting these late finishes, man. Like you look at, he's never won a fight by finish in round 3. He could do it here. Estevam could sell. I don't think Estevam is like the next big thing at flyweight. So it like almost pushes me to pick Bunes to win. But then logic tells me, no, Estevam should probably get the first 2 rounds and then even survive a third round and then get a decision over Bunes. And who's to say Estevam doesn't, just beat up Bunes from top and then Bunes is gassed out and wilts, you know? Bunes is one of those wild card types. Like you could pick him because, oh, Estevam's on short notice and got gas tank woes, and I get it. But then it's like, it's not like Bunes has looked good. I guess the Jose Johnson one was cool, but like outside of that, he's 1-1 in the UFC. Van put him away. He's got some wins in LFA. Got submitted by Formiga some years ago, but Formiga's high level jiu-jitsu. I'll go Estevam, but like I'm looking at the odds and it like makes you want to go the other side, which is annoying. It's really annoying that it makes you want to go the other side. I think that there's a live possibility of Estevam winning grapple heavy decision, but worry about this man come round number 3. It's really the point I want to push to you guys. All right. So Estevam the pick, but shouldn't be this wide of a favorite. Next fight on the card, we got Rodolfo Vieira versus Tresean Gore. I'm picking Rodolfo Vieira. I like Tresean Gore a lot. I think he's a fun style. I think he hits hard. I think that he's an explosive striker, but I do not know how he fares against a guy with this level of jiu-jitsu skills. That's the damn truth of it all, man. I am unsure, but also just like a bit worried about how he looks on the ground with a guy that has legit black belt skills. I feel like Tresean Gore could do okay in the first round and maybe have some striking success, but Vieira is going to be looking to push the grappling pace. I think he's going to back Tresean Gore up against the cage. I think Vieira is going to look for takedowns against the cage, and I think he could potentially get Tresean's back, man. Tresean's probably getting submitted. I think a rear naked choke is very live for Vieira. I think he's going to absolutely outmuscle Tresean when they hit the ground. And I do anticipate that they will. I don't think Tresean Gore is going to be able to stop the takedowns all night. And I don't think he's just going to be able to kickbox. And it's not like Vieira has shown like a weak chin. He eats a good shot. And then Vieira on the other side, or excuse me, then with Vieira in general, he is pretty physically fit now. Like his gas tank was a worry for a while, but I think it's gotten better. And then having the high level jujitsu skills, having slick transitions on the ground, being really strong. And I think the submission is going to open itself up. I think like a first or second round rear naked strangle is a most likely outcome from Vieira. Tresean's going to be threatening with big shots, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. I mean, he might even shoot a ghillie on Vieira as Vieira looks to shoot, and I don't think he locks that ghillie up. I think potentially Tresean goes for the ghillie, gets taken down, holds the ghillie, and then gets passed, and then Vieira's in a dominant position, half guard, and then he's working some pepper and ground and pound, and even, going towards hitting an arm triangle on Tresean Gore. Yeah, I got too many worries about when they actually hit the ground, especially at the apex, too. There's a lot less ground that Vieira is going to need to cover to back Tresean against the cage and then work from there. And then Gore's not just going to have so much space to strike. Like Tresean hits pretty fucking hard. And, if he ends up landing a bomb on Vieira's chin, could he be the first guy to put him away? Maybe. But Vieira's gotten better. Even Vieira's striking, it's not like I would consider him a good striker. He's pretty basic, but it's still like basic and effective, to say the least. Basic and effective striking into the grappling should be a big difference maker. And then add another factor on top of this. Tresean Gore 3 months ago got his shit rocked bad by Marco Tulio in a fun striking fight. Tresean had like a moment that he actually hurt Tulio too, but he was getting tuned up on the feet. And he took a lot of damage there. And now a quick turnaround, taking on a high-level jiu-jitsu fighter. I mean, grappling-wise, the toughest test of his life. I don't think Tresean Gore can pass this test. I think this is too much for him. I think Rodolfo Vieira is going to end up winning this fight by submission. And, yeah, I'm going to go with Vieira, sub. He should get Tresean out of there. Probably a rear naked choke, maybe an arm triangle. Vieira, around -215 as the favorite here, with Tresean in that plus 175 range. And then looking towards, let's see, over 2.5 is -120. I feel like we're ending inside of the distance. Under 2.5, -110. I'll assume that, fight ends inside of the distance is maybe, I don't know, -150 when we get to it. I don't know for sure. We'll find out as they drop some more of these props and whatnot. But I do think Vieira's jiu-jitsu skill set is the X factor in this fight. And I don't think Tresean is going to be able to keep it standing for 3 rounds. I don't think he's locking Vieira in a gilly. Yes, Tresean does have a good gilly in his own right, and he submitted a black belt in jiu-jitsu and Trocoli, but Trocoli is not Rodolfo Vieira. Not even close. Like he's like tall, lanky, a little awkward. And maybe you could say, oh well, he shot in and got locked up. But what about Vieira? Couldn't he too? If it's jiu-jitsu versus Tresean's, I don't even know what you call it, explosive gilly powers. The reason I say no is because Vieira has like the physicality. He's been tested in the UFC. He's got a lot of fights in the UFC now, and he's got a good amount of wins. Last fight, like he lost to Petrosky on a decision, and he got out kickboxed, and his wrestling was stopped there. But Petrosky has a pretty strong base and is a high level grappler in his own right. So, like Tresean's grappling skills, I don't know. I think he's like a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and yeah, he's got a nice guillotine. But when we get to the levels on the ground, I just think there's a disparity that's just too wide to overlook. So the pick is going to be Rodolfo Vieira, and I'll say he ends up getting a submission win. Next fight on the card, we got Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. I'm going to pick Rinya Nakamura. I'm not that high on Rinya, but his wrestling is really good, and you can't be that high on Nathan Fletcher after the last one. To be fair, he got robbed, though. He should have got the decision over Loughran. I thought he had done enough, but it was a competitive fight. It's not like his grappling was so dominant in the fight and then he ended up getting robbed. Like there was transitional moments on both sides. Fletcher's striking is okay, but I don't see him as like the future. He's got future world champion in his bio on Instagram, and I give respect to him looking to manifest it, but I don't know, man. Rinya Nakamura is still a beastly wrestler. Yes, he sold bad against Muin Gafarov, but like when you really think about Gafarov, the dude is battle tested. He fought in one championship. He then had a contender series fight. He grizzled his way back to the UFC. He's had some up and downs, but Muin Gafarov's pretty good, and he's proven to be pretty good against decent opposition. Beat Kyung Ho Kang in the fight before, who's a longtime UFC vet. Nathan Fletcher's, what is he, 1-1 in the UFC? And his win is against Ziggy Mastas Ramashka. And Ramashka is just a kickboxer. And yeah, Fletcher can thrive against guys that have a bit of a hole in the grappling game. I'm sure he's got a good submission skill set. He's good at jiu-jitsu. He's got good grappling skills. He's slick on the mat. But Nakamura's wrestling puts him in top position if they grapple. And I don't think Fletcher is getting a submission from bottom. I don't feel great about Fletcher hitting reversals. I don't feel great about Fletcher tuning up Nakamura on the feet. I think that Nakamura is going to be able to neutralize Fletcher's offensive submission threat from bottom if there is any. And then if you look at the striking, Nakamura is going to be a bit stronger, a bit more explosive. Fletcher's got okay kickboxing from distance, throws some decent body kicks, and his shots aren't bad. Straight shots, he's shitting his pants. His straights aren't bad, but it's just, I think Rinya Nakamura has some bit of potential as a high level Japanese wrestler, enough so to end up in top position here with Fletcher. I favor the physicality of Nakamura and the athleticism, and I think that he's going to get his hand raised in this one. I think he gets a decision. I feel like he might take all 3 rounds, and like Fletcher's going to be gutsy from the bottom, trying things. But I think Nakamura is going to be too consistent with his top control. And then when they get to striking, I feel like Nakamura is faster. He's more explosive. I just have a hard time seeing Fletcher offering anything other than like attempts to throw up submissions that just get stifled by Nakamura's physicality. And I don't think Fletcher ends up in top position. I don't think Fletcher is rocking Nakamura with the punch. I think Nakamura is able to out-grapple him for a majority of the fight, and I think he ends up taking a decision. So I'm going to go Nakamura to get it on the cards. Looking at the odds for the fight, Rinya Nakamura around minus 372, the favorite. Another one where the odds are shit, but it is what it is. Fletcher plus 297 as an underdog. Yeah, I think Nakamura. Over 2.5 at minus 210 should hit. And I think that Rinya Nakamura should be getting his hand raised. So I'm going to go with Nakamura for a unanimous decision. I ultimately still feel like he can get some wins against like the back end guys, right? Fletcher 1-1 in the UFC. He's 27. He lost to Khan Ofli on the Ultimate Fighter as well. And, it was exciting to see him sign to the UFC. I had high hopes, man. I did. And then the Loughran fight, I was like, oof, not as good as I thought. Him coming down to 135, like I thought it was going to be a little more menacing. I don't think that Nakamura is a good matchup for him. I think the wrestling is too effective, man. And I think Nathan Fletcher ends up getting controlled for a lot of the fight. And I think Nakamura is pretty consistent with takedown threats. So I'm going to go with Nakamura on the scorecards. I think he's able to win the grappling battle and stay in top position. Even if he doesn't do a lot of damage and it's just like takedown into top control and then Fletcher trying to throw up submissions, scrambles back up, and we get maybe more of the same. I just don't think there's enough threats of damage from Fletcher. So it's like with Nakamura, I feel like you got to crack him with a big shot. And then Fletcher, like, okay, can he stop the takedowns? Maybe he stops a couple, but does he not get backed up? I think Nakamura is outworking him. So let me go with Nakamura to pull through. Next fight on the card. It's the featured prelim of the night. It's Nick Klein versus Andrey Pulyaev. It's a cool middleweight fight between guys that fought on Contender Series last season. I like Pulaev's chances in this matchup here. I actually think he'd do pretty well with like a big pressure base. It's not really like Klein's bigger. Klein looks big in the cage, a little bit wide, but actually Pulaev's taller and longer. Klein is going to look to wear on Pulyaev. Klein is going to look to take him down. I think he's going to look to control him from top position, maybe work towards a submission. But Pulyaev, he comes from Alexander Shlemenko's team. I just don't see him lacking awareness of offensive takedowns from Klein. I see him against the cage fighting the attacks pretty well. And then I think about the striking, and I feel like Klein, he's very flat footed. That's a red flag about Klein. He's flat footed. He comes with like a slanted stance and pressure, but I believe Pulyaev is going to be able to catch him with some pretty quick straight shots. Pulyaev also a southpaw, so I'm intrigued to see how Klein looks to deal with that type of onslaught, like a slick southpaw who moves pretty well, who seems to fend off takedowns pretty well, who honestly I'd consider well-rounded. I mean, Pulyaev kind of got put in a terrible spot. Like he made his debut against Christian Leroy Duncan, who's definitely one of the highly touted middleweight prospects from England. He had a good amount of UFC experience. Striking is solid. Even his clinch work looked pretty good in the fight. But it's not like Pulyaev was a dead man in the matchup. He just got outworked by the more experienced fighter. Now, Pulyaev with the fight experience advantage. I think he's the better striker between the two. Klein might be the better wrestler, but is he good enough of a wrestler to now start throwing Pulyaev around? I don't think so. I think Pulaev's going to sting Klein with some straight shots. Mansur Abdul Malik ended up putting him away last time in a fight where Klein had early success. And at that point, Malik was looked at as the next big thing. But I feel like after the Cody Brundage fight, the hype on Malik has kind of flatlined a bit. I feel like Pulaev's hand speed could be a difference maker. And I could see Klein being aggressive round number one, backing him up, looking to drag him to the ground. Pulyaev creating some space, fighting off the clinch attacks, fighting off the takedowns, and then Pulyaev getting to striking and landing some stinging combination shots. I mean, Pulaev's hands are pretty good, and he's got knockout ability. He's got 5 KO wins, and it's not like he doesn't have grappling either. 2 submissions. I feel like with his long arms, he could even threaten Klein with like a guillotine as Klein's looking to shoot in for takedowns if he gets a little reckless and things like that. But yeah, I'll say Pulaev's slickness is the difference maker. He might put Klein out, man. Klein's been KO'd in both of his losses. I feel like there's a chance Pulyaev is putting him away. I'm feeling like Pulyaev knockout. I think Klein is going to look to embrace the smother, but he's going to look too slow on the feet. And I think he's going to be dealing with a guy that's pretty slick in the stand-up department, who's got some promise. And I feel like we're waiting on that Pulyaev KO. He didn't get it with Anderson, but he landed some good shots. And Anderson, like a big pressure, strong, wrestling, stylish fighter. Yeah, I think Pulyaev can deal with this beast. I'll lean towards a Pulyaev knockout. I think he has a bit of a breakthrough. He's also 2 years younger than Klein with more experience. I like the Russian fighters. I like the Russian slickster stance. I like the southpaw stance. I like Andrey Pulyaev to take this one home. I'm going to pick him. The odds for the fight, let's see. Pulyaev is -145, Klein +125 at open. Pulyaev was a +145 underdog. Lines completely flipped. I'm surprised to see Pulyaev was a dog there. I get it. Klein is strong and I don't know. He's blue collar. He's blue collar as fuck. But to say that he deserves to be the favorite against Pulyaev, I don't think so. I don't agree with that. The overs -195. I mean, you lean towards yes on the over because I'm feeling like Klein is maybe stopped in the second or third round. I feel like in the first, he could be aggressive and back Pulyaev up against the cage and try and drag his ass to the ground. But then I think Pulyaev is going to start to create space. I think he'll start to find his timing with his punches. And I think he's going to see Klein comes in like a little slow and sloppy. And I think there's going to be a big straight left that just connects on the dome. And I think Pulyaev is probably going to rock Klein pretty bad. I think he's live to knock him out. We'll see if he's able to do it. Klein has not proven, in his Elves that he can survive the big shots. With 2 KO losses and Pulyaev pretty heavy-handed, at least he's like a slick power puncher. Not like he has that freak touch of death like a Tebogatier style, but he gets to the target pretty accurately, and I feel like he could land some thudding punches here on Nick Klein. And I guess don't sleep on Pulaev's ground game either, especially as we get into the second and third round. Yes, I think Klein's the better wrestler early, but as the fight wears on, like Pulyaev could win it in a multitude of ways. So I'm going to say Pulyaev knockout, though, as the official call. I think that he'll look too slick out there, and I think he beats Nick Klein in this one. So we're going Pulyaev for the W. Let's keep running up the card. Main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe it up. It's Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. I'm going with Kevin Vallejos to pull through and win. I got to go with El Chino, a legendary boxing nickname for Marcos Maidana. Now Vallejos bringing it to MMA, and he's smooth. I love his stand-up game. He rips his punches together really nicely. Solid kicking skills, light on his feet with solid ability to move and like stay out of the way of big shots besides against John Silva. But like he's not like, oh, I lost to John Silva. Let me just try to get a Contender Series fight right off rip. He lost to John Silva, and then he won 2 fights in a row, got it back on track, took out a journeyman, and then beaten an undefeated kid, came onto the Contender Series and destroyed Cam Teague, and then welcome to the UFC, knocks out Sung Woo Choi. Vallejos seems like one to watch in this, UFC featherweight division. A little bit on the shorter side, but definitely like a power base with a low center of gravity. I see him hitting Danny Silva with some hard shots. Now, Danny Silva is 10-1 as a pro, and like you have to put respect on it. He's a Contender Series winner. He's 2-0 in the UFC with 2 close-ass decision wins, to be fair. Silva's boxing's not bad, though. He's a stance switcher, pretty comfortable out of both stances, does actually have some good athleticism and footwork, does actually have some solid hand speed, and he has good boxing combos. I feel like Danny Silva's actually pretty good. It's just, yes, he's a well-rounded and I'd say, reasonably sound prospect. I think Vallejos is like one to watch, Vallejos can rip this like multi-shot combination, body, head, sharp blade of a striker, power in his hands that I think can get Silva out of there potentially, man. Hard to say for sure that Danny Silva gets put away because, Danny Silva, he's 10-1. He's got a solid record. He's been doing well. He's 2-0 in the UFC. I have to put respect on it, but I think Vallejos is a little bit of like a different breed. I see him countering Danny Silva with big shots. I see him rocking Danny Silva. Split decisions over Lucas Almeida and Josh Kulabau. I feel like those aren't good enough to say you can handle that Kevin Vallejos consistent pressure. And I think Vallejos is going to wear on him. I think he's going to slowly but surely pick him apart. I don't think he gives Danny Silva enough space to work. I think Silva's like going to have to be on the fucking bicycle to really survive in this fight. And I think that's going to dwindle his gas tank a bit. And then I think Vallejos is going to start landing big shots as they get close to the cage. I feel like he might cut off the cage a bit, hit some angles, and like trap Danny Silva and then rip him with big punch combinations. And I could see Silva end up out cold. I could see Silva knocked out here. I'm going to go Vallejos. I'm thinking KO. Could he go out and win a decision? Maybe, but like his mentality is kill button, man. 2 wins by decision, but when was that last decision win? Back in 2022, some time ago. He went distance with John Silva, which is impressive in itself. Look at John Silva fighting Diego Lopez now. Yeah, I think Kevin Vallejos is going to beat up Danny Silva in this one. But I still think Silva's got UFC ability. Like, it's one of those spots, man. You're the 10-1 prospect. You're fighting a 15-1 prospect. Silva biting off more than he can chew. Respect to taking the fight. I think he's going to show some dog early. But with that dog, I think he's getting caught with heavy punches. I see Vallejos cracking him with shots on the feet. I feel like a good right on the chin. I see him like cutting off the cage, then ripping the body, coming over the top, snapping at the leg kicks. I just think Vallejos is going to show that he's elite. Like, or not elite yet, but like an elite prospect. Is that the right way to put it? I think Vallejos is an elite prospect. And I think he's going to showcase it against a good prospect, but not the same level. Vallejos minus 500. Huge favorite status for him here. He opened up at minus 250, and the odds are just getting crazier. Plus 375 for Danny Silva. Yeah, I think Danny Silva's getting put away. Let's see. Over 2.5, plus 125. Under is minus 155. Listen, if Danny Silva's got that true rock solid chin, he doesn't go out, but I don't think he can run from Vallejos all night. I think he's going to have to stay on the bicycle, and I think at the small cage, Vallejos going to trap him, man. And I think Vallejos is going to hurt him bad. And I'm going to say Vallejos gets a knockout in this fight. I'm going Kevin Vallejos KO to start off the main card. Next fight on the main card, we got Magny versus Elizeu Zaleski. This is a weird one for me because, a couple years ago, you'd be like, oh, Magny, he's going to use that cage and he's going to smother Zaleski. But now I'm like, damn, bro, Magny knocked out in his past two, finished, Mike Malott, but that's a year and a half ago, and he was losing that fight. Ian Machado Gary beat the shit out of him for 3 rounds. I feel like, oh my God, I feel like I can't even fucking think right now. I feel like I'm panicking right now. This is a sincere pick. I wrote something down, but like I'm sitting on it and making sure this is what I want to say. I think Elizeu Zaleski's a better striker. And I don't feel like Magny is just going to be able to, embrace the grind and cage smother him for 3 rounds. So I'm going to go with Zaleski. I think he lands bigger shots. I don't know where Magny's chin is at this point. I get it, though. Magny has lost to 3 top 15 guys in a row. It's not like Magny is going out and losing to bottom feeders. But I feel also that Magny might be past his prime for sure now. And I think that Zaleski's physicality is a factor. I have a hard time seeing Magny just pressuring Zaleski back, holding him up against the cage, and just embracing the smother for a unanimous decision, which is like the Magny bread and butter. I don't think Magny is submitting Elizeu Zaleski. I think Zaleski's going to be able to create some space, and I feel like he could land some big shots here. I mean, yes, Chidi and Njokuani, the tie clinch, puts him out in a way. That was impressive. And Njokuani, similar frame to Magny. The other loss, Randy Brown, similar frame to Magny. But both Chidi and Randy Brown bring something that Magny doesn't. That's a risk of knocking you the fuck out. They got danger on the offensive striking side. Neil doesn't. He's feather-fisted. Neil looks to press you against the cage. Maybe he gets on top of you. I mean, he finished Mike Malott in the 3rd round with some ground and pound, but I don't think so here. Zaleski looked terrifying against Zach Scroggin, who was not UFC level. Had the draw with Renat Fakhretdinov in a good back-and-forth fight. Dabu Baker fight, he got a split decision. I feel like Zaleski could get a competitive win, man. I think he could hurt Magny at some point, but I don't know if Zaleski putting him out. I think it's a competitive fight. I think Zaleski might land a big right hand that like wobbles Magny a bit. I think Magny is going to channel the OG and he's going to look to press him against the cage a bit. But I think Zaleski creates some space. He's going to be able to rip combinations on the inside. The thing is, Magny might be 6'3" with an 80-inch reach, but he don't fucking use it in striking. Maybe use it with submission threats, but in stand-up, nah. I don't see Magny peppering jabs. I don't see him keeping Zaleski at bay. I think Magny's going to come inside, and he's going to look to fight in closer range. I think Zaleski could land some big shots. Zaleski's the better striker, harder kicker, heavier puncher, has good jiu-jitsu too. It's not like Zaleski is a slouch on the ground, man. Elizeu Zaleski's always been pretty good. And I think that in a fight that you don't have to worry too much about the power of the opponent. This is good for Zaleski. I really think he's going to be confident. And you're going to see Zaleski open up more. I think he's going to rip punch and kick combinations. I think he's going to string strikes together pretty well here. And I don't think Magny's got it at this rate. Yes, Zaleski a little bit older than him. But I feel like he's got more explosiveness. He's got more power. He hasn't been knocked out in 2 in a row and then crushed, in the fight before. I guess the Mike Malott win's nice enough, but he got crushed by Ian Gary, man. He got crushed bad by Ian Gary. I think Zaleski looks all right in this one. I was surprised to see Zaleski's the favorite, though. I will say, like, you got the king of the gatekeepers, Neil Magny, as a plus 155 dog. Like, you'd anticipate maybe the line flipped because it's not like Zaleski's been fighting top 15 and top 15 and top 15. He's been fighting outside of it. Plus 160 at open for Magny. I think Zaleski gets it, man. I really do. I think he's more effective with striking. He's more dangerous. I mean, you look at some of Magny's win. Comeback win against Mike Malott. Split decision against Phil Rowe. I thought he could have lost that damn decision. And I think about Zaleski. I think about his frame a little bit on the shorter side, muscle bound, but rips big shots in close. He's got a good stand-up game and a powerful stand-up game, and he's got good cardio. Unless Magny catches him with that cheaty fucking knees and elbows. I don't see that, though. I don't see that happening here. I think Elizeu Zaleski is going to get it done over Neil Magny. I think he wins the decision. The over 2.5 is minus 175. I lean towards yes on that. I feel as though Neil Magny is more towards the final phase of his career than Zaleski, but both are more in the twilight run. But I think Zaleski still, he looks more capable to me, regardless of the unfortunate knockout loss in his last fight 4 months ago, which I don't love, but it's not like we're not seeing KOs here. I mean, Prates killed Magny bad. Morales destroyed him bad. I'm going to say Zaleski wins this one. I think he could do more damage. I think he could end up hurting Magny. I don't know if he puts him away, though, but I think he could sting him with a big punch. I think his striking looks better. I think he fends off the clinch attacks. And I think Elizeu Zaleski might have a little bit of a strength advantage. So I'm going to go with Zaleski to get his hand raised. I think he beats the OG gatekeeper. Next fight on the card. The ladies going after it here. It's Karol Rosa versus Nora Cornolle. I'm going to pick Nora Cornolle in this one. I think that Nora's striking is meaner than Karol Rosa. I feel like she rips her shots with more power. I think she's got heavier kicks. I think she's got more thudding punches. It's like Cornolle's a weird case where her grappling skills look real sus early against Haley Cohen, but then she came back and choked her out. So it's not like Cornolle's grappling isn't showing improvements. It's getting better. And it's not like Karol Rosa is known for effective grappling. I mean, she got out grappled here by Eileen Perez, lost in a dogfight with Aldana. Norma Dumont pressured her up. I think Cornolle's striking solid. Rosa's got decent stand-up, though. I mean, I like her jab. I like her straight. I feel like she got solid enough low kicks, moves pretty well, but she has this fucking habit, bro. If you watch Karol Rosa fight enough, it's like she has the habit sometimes of getting caught in a sparring match as of late. And I don't know if it's because that Aldana fight was more of a dog fight. It took something out of her. But I think she might be worried about the big hits from Cornolle coming after her. And I think we might see Rosa look to be like a little overly technical. And then from there, get a little gun shy. And then Cornolle lands some bigger shots. And if we're talking about physicality, I think Cornolle's the stronger girl. I could see Cornolle backing Rosa up in the clinch, pressuring her, peppering shots against the cage. I think if they create space, Cornolle can land some decent counters too. And I feel like Karol Rosa is not just going to be able to tune Cornolle up in a kickboxing fight. Cornolle comes from the striking base, and that's the bread and butter of her game. And I feel like she looks solid in this one. And her going out and winning by submission last time and overcoming some bad spots on the ground with Haley Cohen early. Yeah, it looked bad in the first, but then it looked impressive in the second. I feel like there's net positives to take away. And then you give her a striker like Karol Rosa, who at times I feel like looks a little bit lackadaisical. I think Nora Cornolle's going out there and winning. I think he's going to land bigger shots. I think if they are tied up in the clinch, I think she's pressing Rosa against the cage. Yeah, I think Cornolle gets a close one here. I feel like it's back and forth, but Cornolle's got more power. I think Cornolle, I feel like she's meaner. It's the best way to say it. On the inside, knees to the body, just making it nasty. Can she make 135? I don't know. She might miss weight here too, which gives her an edge as well. So I'm going to favor Nora to get it done. I think she's getting it. Wow, a lot of the people too. Popular underdog Cornolle, but I think it's because the promising striking, like Rosa at times gets in the sparring flow and keeps it there and gets outworked. I think Cornolle can make it more of a dog fight, and I think she can win in the dog fight. Plus 167 for Cornolle, minus 192 for Karol Rosa, and then looking towards the side of the over, it's minus 500. I mean, the ladies are probably going over, I would anticipate. 2 submission losses for her, but Yeah, that was a long time ago, man. And then if she goes out, can you imagine? The striker submits her. Cornolle somehow found their flow, man. She got a submission against Cohen, but missed weight in two of her last three fights. Two of her last three wins, she missed weight. Cavalcanti fight was a close decision, but Cavalcanti's sharp on the feet. Cavalcanti picks her shots well. She actually got two wins over Cornolle. Both of her losses are to Cavalcanti. Cavalcanti's got the range advantage, stays patient from the outside. And that was a tit for tat back and forth fight. It's not like Cornolle got dominated there. I think Cornell's going to win. I think she's a little bit stronger, a little bit taller. That size advantage could be a factor. I think her striking's a little more powerful. He's a little nastier with the hooks too. I think inside fighting, I think Cornell's better, and I have a hard time seeing Rosa like tune her up from the outside, just working teeps and straights. Like Cornell's going to look to close the gap. She's going to take some real estate, and I think she's going to land bigger shots. So I'm gonna go with Nora Cornell, probably a decision win. I'll pick her to get it. Let's keep running. Next fight on the card, we got our featured fight of the night. We got Estevam Ribovics and Elves Brener, and what I think could be like a cult classic at the UFC Apex. I'm going to pick Esteban Ribovics to beat Elves Brener. My only worry is if Brener is aggressive with takedowns, because Elves Brener was able to get Orabai down a bit in round three. Excuse me. And I think that the ground skills are a little underrated. He's a shoot the box Diego Lima fighter, and he does have some grappling in the arsenal, but tends to like to strike, a bit of a brawling striking style, a little bit wild, a little bit awkward at times. He's just winging these big shots, but like willing to sit in the pocket and trade. And then on the opposite side, you got Esteban Ribovics, who's willing to sit in the pocket and trade. I mean, Ribovics is more so a brawler than anything else with pretty fast hands. I feel like Ribovics is cleaner though. Both brawlers, both strikers who are willing to put it on the line and swing for the fences. But I think Ribovics is sharper with his shots. I think Ribovics has faster punches. I think Ribovics can rip multi-shot combinations together better. I think Ribovics has better footwork. I think Ribovics has a better parry game too. I think his defense on the striking is a little bit better. And I feel like Ribovics can outstrike Elves Brener in this fight. But the worry is if he gets taken down. Because if you're on Brenner's team, I think you're trying to force grappling here. We saw Loic Rajabov have a bit of success wrestling Ribovics in his UFC debut, which he lost, but nearly 2.5 years ago. And I mean, since then, he's looked quite good. Even the Nasrat Haqparast fight, anybody's decision at the end of the fight. He beat Daniel Zellhuber in a war and did great in round number 3. And I did pick him as an underdog there. So I've had faith in Ribovics before, and it's came through for me. Obviously, the highlight reel against Terrence McKinney is something to look at. Ken Weller-Kirk got him down a bit, though. Like, Ribovics, the worry is he's been fighting a lot of strikers. He's been fighting guys that want to sit on the feet and go after it, and at least in the past two. McKinney can grapple. He just, he got knocked out quick. It's if Elves Brener chooses to wrestle. That's where things get testy for Ribovics. But I do think Ribovics can survive Brenner's grappling game. Brener does have deceptively good reversals, so if Ribovics somehow ended up on top, be careful, because Brener could take his back and, switch the position up nicely. I think Brener definitely has the threat of takedowns that he could go towards, but I just don't know if he will. He tends to really favor the brawling style and looking for the big knockout shot, and I think Ribovics is going to have the strike speed advantage. I expect it to be a good fight. I feel like Brener, if he does look to engage and grapple, my question mark is, can he wrestle fuck Ribovics for 3 rounds? Because I don't see him submitting him. Can he wrestle fuck Ribovics for 3 rounds? I say no. If he gets Ribovics down, does he control for the entire round? Does Ribovics not find his way back up to the feet? I think he would. Then when we're in the striking, I think Ribovics is the one pushing the pace. Even though Brener throws high volume and looks to match, I think he's going to get thudded up. He's coming off the real bad loss to Yoel Alvarez almost a year ago now. So a proper layoff after getting fucked up. But he got fucked up in that fight. Fight before that, him and Orabai had a great back and forth fight, which is impressive. The fact that he even got Orabai down is impressive, even if it was round 3. But he hit a reversal early in the fight too, ended up in mount a couple of times. Like, Brenner's deceptive on the ground. I think Ribovics is going to come in well prepared. I think they know that Brener has underrated ground skills. I don't think they're overlooking it, but they recognize he's not that good of a wrestler. And I think Ribovics' takedown defense could be effective here. I think Ribovics' speed is effective here. And I think in the small cage, there's going to be a lot of strikes in close range. And I favor Ribovics' hands ultimately. And I'm going to say Estevam Ribovics takes it home against Elves Brener in a pretty fun fight. This could be fight of the night for sure. I'll consider early leaning this as my pick for fight of the night. As far as the odds, we got minus 225 for Esteban Ribovics, Elves Brener at plus 190. Another one is like odds, they're not awful. Minus 225 isn't terrible. Brenner plus one, I guess it makes sense. Times Brenner looks lackadaisical. At least, he had a nice late comeback finish of freaking Gamrot. What am I saying? Kutataladze. But that was when Garam was also highly respected. Garam fell apart after that. Garam won the first 2 rounds. Competitive decision with Tuhugov. People felt he lost. Knocked out Krzyzewski in one shot, but he's kind of shit, man. He just sits in the pocket, squares up with his chin up and throws, and he got flattened. I think Esteban Ribovics is going to be pretty explosive, and I think it's a back and forth war. I think over 1.5 at minus 225 makes sense. I feel like these guys are live to end up going all three. I think it's going to be a banger fight. I think Brenner's going to fight hard till the end, but I think Ribovics lands the bigger shots. I think he wins the key striking exchanges. And if Brener is successful getting Ribovics down, I question how long he can keep him there. So my pick is going to be Esteban Ribovics to win this one. And I do think he wins a banger on the scorecards. Next fight on the card, we got Chris Duncan versus Mateusz Rębecki. I'm picking the side of Mateusz Rębecki to put Chris Duncan down. To pick him apart really is where I was getting at. I was thinking ahead of myself here. I think Mateusz Rębecki's hands excuse me, still fighting the cold, man. I think Rębecki's hands are powerful enough to give Duncan problems. Duncan's a pretty good striker. Like, I'll give credit where it's due. He can mix it up on the feet. Round 1, Duncan looks real sharp. Round 2, I feel like he starts getting a little desperate and wild at times. He really decided to go grapple fuck mode against Jordan Vucenic last time early. Then, in the striking exchanges in the second, I'm sure you guys noticed, he was like overthrowing a lot of shots and putting himself out of position. If Rębecki clips him with a shot as he's out of position like that, I think Duncan's getting knocked out. Chris Duncan has been hurt. He got hurt bad against Charlie Campbell. He got knocked out against Slava Claus on Contender Series. He's looked good as of late, 2 straight wins, and he's turned into Mr. Gilly, caught Balagioki. Balagi hit him with a good shot, and then Duncan locks in the Gilly and ends up getting a pretty sick first round submission finish. And then with Vucenic, he out grappled him early in the fight and showed that wrinkle in his game. And then unfortunately, for Vucenic, ends up getting strangled. And then fight before that, Manuel Torres quickly subbed him. So it's been interesting results for Chris Duncan, to say the least. He's definitely a tough banger, but I feel as though Mateusz Rębecki from Southpaw has a sharper stand-up game. I think Rębecki's boxing is a little bit better. He hits harder for sure. He's more of like a physical specimen too. Like, I don't see Chris Duncan out grappling Rębecki. I feel like Rębecki's going to land bombs. And I think Duncan's going to probably try and grapple. And I think he's going to have a damn hard time taking Rębecki to the floor. Rębecki's short, man. 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. Short and stocky. But that low center of gravity tells me Duncan ain't getting him down. And the other factor about Duncan's game, he's not a sniper kickboxer. He is more of a mid and close range boxer brawler type of striker. He's looking to hit you with power hooks over the top and big shots and close. And Rębecki's doing that exact same thing. And I think Rębecki is slicker on the feet. I think he's more accurate with his punches. There's a lot of positives with Rębecki. I mean, early against Ferreira, he looked like a monster, but Ferreira survived the storm and then ends up finishing him. And then he was in an all-time classic against Mitabek Orabai, where he destroyed Orabai's fucking eye, and they went after it for 3 rounds in a crazy war. And honestly, at the end of it, I'm like, damn, if you got 4 and 5, Orabai might have had more in the tank. He was essentially knocked out, but somehow survives off of pure instinct. That fight was sensational and still came back and put it on Rębecki late in the fight. I just don't think Duncan has the same survivability of a guy like Mitabek Orabai or somebody like Diego Ferreira. I think Rębecki could land some power shots, hurt Duncan, and I think he could put Duncan away with a bit of ground and pound after dropping him. So I do think Duncan ends up getting stopped by Mateusz Rębecki here, and I'll be interested to see how the grappling matches up. I feel like Rębecki would end up in top position. He's pretty good on the floor, man. Mateusz Rębecki's a little beast. He's like built like a little Staffordshire Terrier, like it's like a pit bull. It's like the cousin breed to it, but it's like short limbs, stocky, and just straight power. And I feel like Chris Duncan gets clipped, and I think he's going to end up getting dropped here. I'm going to go Rębecki by KO. I think the physicality is a difference. I think the punch power is a difference. And I think the danger factor with Rębecki is higher than it is with Duncan, especially in this fight here. I think Rębecki's getting a nice KO. Rębecki's a 2-1 favorite here. Chris Duncan plus 170. I feel like we are ending under 2.5. Let's see. Under 2.5 at minus 115, I'll say yes. I expect a high-paced war in the small cage. I think Duncan's going to oblige in like a bit of a brawl with Rębecki. I think he's going to close that gap. I think they're going to get into big exchanges on the feet, both throwing hard. I think Duncan gets caught with a counter. I think he throws a little too hard, misses. Rębecki starts firing him with heat. And I think Rębecki ends up putting Chris Duncan down and finishing him off with ground and pound. I think Rębecki's got too much pop in his hands, and he brings the threat of grappling too. I think Rębecki is physically more imposing, probably the better offensive wrestler. I don't see Duncan embracing the grind and then taking Rębecki down. And if Duncan looks to wear on Rębecki with a grappling heavy approach early, I have a weird feeling that that could end up being his demise, and it kind of flips it on its head and ends up screwing him sideways because he fatigues with such a grappling heavy attack early that then round number 2, Rębecki starts finding big punches and ends up stinging Chris Duncan up and putting him down and out. So every way I'm seeing it, it's Mateusz Rębecki getting his hand raised. I think too much power, too clean a boxing, and I like the southpaw stance for him too. I'll say that he's able to put Chris Duncan away. He's too vulnerable for big shots as he gets wild. Rębecki, KO. Now let's jump to the new main event for UFC Vegas 108. If you guys are watching and enjoying, make sure you guys hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe it up. We got Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun Sung Park. We got Japan's best flyweight versus Korea's best flyweight, in what is honestly a way better fight than Taira versus Elbazi. I actually love this right here. Ooh, making a pick on this one, it's not a walk in the park. I mean, Park, there's no pun intended, 10-0 as a pro, and he's looked amazing in his UFC career. But the gripe I have with him is he's yet to fight anybody high level. Taira just went after it in a 5-round war with Brandon Royval, losing a split decision. Fight before that, he took on Alex Perez. Unfortunate injury ended the fight, but Taira was the reason that injury happened. Oh my gosh. This pick is a lot harder than I thought it would have been, It's not a no-brainer call. I'm going to go with Tatsuro Taira. I think Park is good, really good. I think he boxes well. I think Park has more power in his hands. But Taira is a fast puncher. And even though he's more so known for the bread and butter of his game being the grappling, I think the striking is getting better. I have to assume that 9 months off since that war with Royval, his boxing's gotten even more efficient. Park rips good punch combinations. He rips the body well. He has a solid jab. He's got good low kicks, and he has power in his hooks too. But my gripe on the Park side is he gets hit with straight punches a good amount. And he hasn't fought somebody with the hand speed of Tatsuro Taira. And he definitely hasn't fought somebody that can threaten him in the grappling like Taira could. I'm looking at Park and I'm thinking, the Hernandez win, he looked like a terrifying force and he was able to get a finish early in the fight. Taira also has a win over Hernandez. Taira, the first guy to knock Hernandez out. Park ended up pulling off the quick submission after touching him a bit on the feet. It was a quicker win for Park, but it was also a more checked out Hernandez who had taken a handful of L's. And then fight before that, a year and 7 months ago, he ended up melting Shannon Ross, who never got a win. UFC or Contender Series, was just, a tough Aussie. And then fight before that, him and Suguk Choi 2.5 years ago, they had a good 3-round fight. And there was moments where Park was on his back in the fight. He was caught with punches. He was knocked off balance a bit. And I'm sure he's improved a lot in the 2 years and 5 months. But I saw moments of vulnerability, and he had big advantages everywhere over Choi. I look at Taira and I think to myself, okay, let's say Park is lighting him up with some shots. I don't think Taira's getting knocked out. Taira can threaten with the takedown. Though Park is normally a good defensive wrestler, I believe Taira could force getting this fight to the mat. I think he could climb the back against the cage of Park and then threaten with a rear naked choke from there. And I would say the biggest worry of them all is, what is Park going to look like in a 5-round fight? Taira was pushed to the brink of death by Brandon Royval last time, and I'm sure he was tired, but he still gave a gutsy effort and like gutted himself out of bad positions and ended up in dominant positions too against Royval. I mean, who just gave Joshua Van a war and is one of the top contenders in the division. He's challenged for the damn title. He beat Brandon Moreno. I have to go with what I know for sure. And I am certain that Tatsuro Taira is one of the best flyweights in the world right now. I am certain that Tatsuro Taira has slicker grappling skills than Hyung Sung Park. I rate Park's boxing as better. And I rate Park's power as definitely a factor in this fight. But ultimately, I feel as though Tatsuro Taira does bring a threat of grappling. And having the threat of the takedown, the threat of the submission, this could in turn stifle Park's striking game a bit and then allow Taira to cement more effective offense on the feet against Park. I think he could catch him with straight punches. It's not like Park is a master of head movement. I think Taira on the feet is okay with Park, and I think he is going to get him to the ground. I think he's definitely slicker at jiu-jitsu than Hyun Sun Park. I think Park is very physically strong. I think Park is very capable. But I think Taira being better at the grappling transitions, and I feel as though bringing a submission threat throughout, it's too much of a worry for me to pick Park in this spot against Taira, who's 16-1. He's the prospect that's supposed to be. Now, I'm not saying this isn't going to be a competitive fight. I do believe Park is going to catch Taira with some big shots, especially earlier in the fight, first 2 rounds. But as this fight wears on, I think Taira's going to connect with some good punches. I think Taira's going to find his range. I think Taira is going to find grappling success. I think he's going to take the back of Park at some points throughout this fight. Can he get the submission over Park? I mean, it's hard to say. We got 16-1. The only loss is a split decision against Royval, and you got 10-0. This right here is what MMA is all about. Top prospects, top contenders really from their region facing off against one another. And the winner of this fight puts themselves in a great spot. The winner of this fight could be in a top contender fight or something damn close to it. I like Taira's slick grappling more than I like Park's power. I think Park's boxing is good, but I don't know how he fares with Taira's grappling threat. I'm not overly confident that Park can stop all of the takedowns from Taira. I have a hard time saying yes to that. I think Taira's going to shoot, and I think some will get stuffed, but I think eventually he'll find his way to a dominant position on the ground. From there, I think he's live to threaten with submission. I don't know for sure if he's going to get the submission. I could see Park going all 5 with Taira and Taira taking it on the cards and Park putting out a great performance, as does Taira, and both of their stocks rise from a spot like this. Park was scheduled to fight against Steve Urseg next week. They scrambled him and put him in this massive spot here at the Apex. I think that was the best decision. Another factor of this fight that I think is interesting is being at the UFC Apex, the smaller cage. There is less room to move and strike for Park, where I think his best advantage lies. Whereas Taira is going to be just a few steps away from getting Park towards the cage. And I think Taira is going to end up dragging him to the ground. And I think Taira is going to win the grappling battle between the two. I love this fight. I think both guys are excellent, and I think they both have great futures in the UFC. But I think Tatsuro Taira is going to grow from the Brandon Royval loss, and I think we're going to see the best version of Taira ever. Let's not forget, he's 25 years old. He went 5 rounds in a back-and-forth war at 24 against Brandon Royval, losing a damn close decision. And I picked Royval as a dog there. He was my dog lock that week. And I think Taira in this spot can get past the Park test. So I'm going to Tatsuro Taira to go out and get the win. Let's see if they have the odds listed here. If not, I do know what the odds are looking like. So they don't have them listed, so we can't, run through officially on screen. But Tatsuro Taira is sitting in, I believe, the minus 290 range as a pretty large favorite to Park on the opposite side, around plus 225. Of course, there might be slight variance at this point when you're watching the video. Maybe the odds are a little bit closer. I just think you have to favor Taira more experience as a professional and as an amateur. Park, the better striker, Taira, the better grappler, but with the elite level grappling skills, Taira also has highly underrated boxing, and I think it's getting better. Yes, he gets hit a good amount, but so does Park. Yes, Park is slicker and more powerful, but as he closes that gap on Taira and looks to string punch combinations together, Taira is not just going to stand there and swing for the fences. Taira is going to look to engage in either a clinch or a takedown attempt. And I think ultimately he will find success in the grappling positions. I'm going Tatsuro Taira to take it home over Hyun-Sung Park. I feel like it might be a decision. I lean towards decision or submission. I question what Park's going to look like round number 4. I don't know. We haven't seen it yet. If this is a high-paced fight, we know Taira can push that 5-round pace. I don't know if Park can. Park being an explosive puncher and a very physically strong fighter that's actually pretty jacked for the weight class, could see him potentially wear as this fight goes on. Like contrary styles in essence, but also contrary physiques, right? Taira more the skinny, lanky build, whereas we got Park a little shorter, stockier. I mean, they're listed at the same height, but Taira looks a good amount taller. But a 4-inch reach advantage for Taira. I do have to say, I think that 4-inch reach advantage for Taira allows him to land some good punches. Nice straight shots should be able to come through for him. So I'm going to Tatsuro Taira to take it home and get a win over a badass short notice replacement in the battle of Asia's best. I think Taira gets his hand raised, and I think he wins at UFC Vegas 108. And you know what? I'm grateful because this main event has me tenfold more hype than the Albazi and Taira main event had me. So yes, UFC Vegas 108, certified Apex banger main event now, where a ton's on the line. And I think the winner like stands out as the contender to watch to close out the year. And I'm going to say Taira gets the job done. 10-0 versus 16-1. I think the O is going to go for Park, but I don't think him being a threat to the top is going. I think he's still a dangerous fighter. I think he's still extremely good. I just think now is the time for Taira. So the pick is Taira to win, and I'm excited as hell. Those are my predictions for UFC Vegas 108. I've been waiting for this fight announcement. Didn't have the normal Sunday pick show, doing it Monday afternoon because I was sitting and I'm like, yo, we don't got a main event. I can't make a video. We'll see what happens. And then they announced it this morning, studied up on both of them a little more, especially the Park side to lock and load. And I'm going to favor Taira in the matchup. Happy with the card, though, for sure. Definitely smash the like button, guys. Let me know in the comments. First thing, do you agree with my main event pick? But besides agreeing with my main event pick, would you agree with the take that Tatsuro Taira and Hyun-Sung Park is such a better fight than Amir Albazi versus Tatsuro Taira? My God, I love this matchup, and I'm grateful that we got it. Hey, well wishes, though, to Albazi. I know he's had some health issues and whatnot, and he's trying to make it back in the cage. Unfortunately, cancellations galore for him. Make sure you guys subscribe if it's your first time here. Daily content, so turn the post notifications on. They got bangers and bangers every single day, all right? It's either a video, a live stream, or both. You want to keep it locked in with the MMA Experts channel with me, AJ. Make sure you guys drop a W in the comments if you got nothing to say, but I want to hear you guys' predictions down below, so let me know for sure. I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Much love. Peace out.